joining us. We are already in the Christmas spirit with our session, CTA Carol, Ghosts of Past, Present, and Future Journeys. It will be presented by us two. So, JoAnn.
So I'm JoAnn Culbertson. I am a senior solution architect at Innetamrel Dolmen in Belgium. I'm a recent transplant to Europe, and I co-lead the Brussels Salesforce Architect Group with Lilith. I have 16 certifications, and I'm a CTA candidate, and I have over 20 years of experience in the Salesforce ecosystem. When I am not working, I am knitting. Sometimes I might be doing both at once, and my goal is to drink coffee and knit in public in every major city in Europe.
And I mean, if that's not a worthwhile goal, I don't know what is. So I'm Lilith van Biesen. I'm a principal architect at Capgemini. I'm a CTA MVP, co-group leader, and also co-group leader with George for SIMA. I am 31 times certified and amateur zookeeper of 2 dogs and 2 cats. And if you want more information about those, I have tons of pictures, so please come and find me after. But I think you're here probably for the session, so we'll jump into that one.
So we will be covering the CTA journey in a nutshell, or Christmas turkey, or Thanksgiving turkey if you're American like me. We'll look at past journeys, we'll look at current journeys, as well as future ones. So I think we're all mostly familiar with this pyramid, and you know, it is Christmas tree shaped, so we had to put a star on it. But it's really the path towards becoming a CTA. So you start with the application architect and the system architect journeys, which have their own set of requirements behind them. And then at when you get to the top, you sit for the CTA. And I say that with a little shake in my voice. I don't know if y'all caught that. So this is the toughest. I'm in the toughest part of this pyramid. I have 1 certification to go to hit system architect, but I'm already in this study, collaborate, validate, mock, study, sleep, rinse, repeat, and knit in between to calm myself down. So the certification was launched in 2011. Right now, there's about 450 globally, but again, the number's not released, so that's an estimate. It requires broad knowledge, and then broad knowledge across 7 domains. So system architecture, security, data, solution architecture, integration, development lifecycle, and then also being able to communicate well. And so I will just go on record saying part of why I wanted to present last year and this year at French Touch Dreamin is to improve my communication and my presentation skills.
And you're doing really, really well. So, so I'll talk a bit about the past journey. So I'll start with the obvious one, which, sorry, was a bit odd. So what is really important to keep in mind is that while
we lost the mothership.
Yeah. Yeah, it's doing something, so I'll just... Either way, I'll talk through. So it's important to keep in mind that the most change that you will find, if you look at everyone who has gone through the journey of CTA or has been on the journey to CTA, it's not necessarily about, destination where they ended up. It's really about all the things that they learned throughout and all of the people that they met throughout, of which quite a few are here, so that's always fun. And it's not necessarily that you need to become a CTA once you got started on it. It could also be the low-tech alternative. It could also be that by doing this, you kind of discover what you really want to do, what is more of your passion, and that is where you end up. So we'll talk a bit about some of those journeys, and we'll start with mine, which I know I don't need a slide for that. So I got my application architect in July 2019, And then I got my system architect in July 2020. In March 2021, I did the evaluation, which we just covered, right? It's part of the process into getting your board date. We're almost there. So, and then after I did the evaluation, so I'm gonna scooch here. After we did the evaluation, it was a bit scary because then, you know, you've passed it, and at some point you'll get an actual date and actually have to go for the board, and you'll need to be ready for that. So that's a really kind of nerve-wracking part, but at least you know you're working towards a fixed target, because before then, oftentimes one of the troubles in keeping motivated is you're working towards a moving target, you're working towards something that is a bit blurry, and that's very tough to keep your motivation going because it takes a while. It really is a marathon, although it does also feel like a sprint. Not to scare anyone. So then, not looking at the slides, but I think it was in June 2021 that I did my first board. And I got a partial pass. So that means you saw the domains. I passed all of them except for integration. So I had to dive back in. And the funny thing here is if you tell this to somebody who is on the journey, you'll get a reaction like I got from Nadina, like, ah, good job, you're so close. You have to build up that energy again, but you're so close. If you tell it to somebody outside of the journey, like my mom, she was like, oh, you know, we thought you were gonna make it, you know. So everyone fails sometime, it's fine. And I was like, oh, not the message I wanted to hear. I should have called Nadina first and then my mom. I know. If you tell it in the group, everyone's like, oh, yay. But not so much at family dinners. No, so it's really important. It's not always obvious, and we'll talk about it a bit more about some of the things that you need to do is, you know, really get your family, your environment a bit up to speed about what you're exactly doing, because it does take a bit of understanding, and you will have this stressed person walking around in the room, and they won't have time for things, they won't want to go out, they'll become kind of a hermit. So it's really important that they know what's going on, that it's not just you going through something, it's, well, you are, but with a very clear goal in mind. And then I did the integration one in, I think, September. And then I passed. So that was, yeah, I did really jump for joy. I gave a little of a shout, a bit of a scream, like, ah, and my husband was like, what is wrong? Okay, so, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. We're not there yet. Oh yeah, there's a lot of things open, I told you. Yeah. I also, yeah, it doesn't matter. Either way, so that was my journey. We've covered that. What we wanted to actually cover is some journeys that were not as straightforward, and I really hope we get the slide back because I have some awesome QR codes for you to share. If not, I'll share the deck after. So, but some journeys take a bit of twists and turns, and actually, one of the people whose journey took a bit of twists and turns was Melissa's. But in those twists and turns is where you can actually find some other things and create some other things that revolutionize how studying for a CTA works. And that is exactly what Melissa did. So when she failed her first attempt, she was really aware that I didn't have, you know, this kind of network. I didn't know who to talk to. By then we had Ladies Be Architects, so we already had good resources. But a lot of things that you need to do in the last leg is practice. And finding other people who are on the same path is not easy, because people are not always that vocal about this because they're a bit scared. If they say it, then they will constantly, and they will, get this question like, how's it going? Have you been to the board? You passed, right? Have you had a date yet? And then if you have the date, you'll get like messages the day before or the day of like, how's it going? Do you know? Which you cannot answer, by the way. So these are all things that Melissa really made so much easier by creating the Architect Ohana, which was a Slack group, and it helped me tremendously. It helped. Study group, as you know. Sorry? So yes. Exactly. So it really, and again, that's showing how something that really starts small can completely grow into something else, something that was just, I need to find people to connect with and to work with together, transformed into just this community of people who want to be architects, who are architects, who need advice. We get all kinds of random questions and probably some cat pictures too, all the time, and it's super useful. Now you can go to the next one. This one we know. So she wrote a really cool LinkedIn article about this, so feel free to check this QR code. Some other cool people, and I'll start with Martin because he's around here somewhere as well. He also tried, he also failed, and he wrote down his experience also in an article, which again, I think these are incredibly valuable because so many people are going for this. So many people really want to aspire to become this, and it doesn't always end up easy, right? There's always some kind of struggles, and that's part of the experience too. You don't just want to see the highlights, you want to see the reality, and that's what he created. We also had Sam, who also took a... Yeah, exactly, and he wrote about this, that it's fine to sometimes try and go for something and, you know, bump into some of the limitations that you have at that point and really learn and grow from that. So again, really valuable resource. And Adina as well, so there, one of the things that she really highlighted that I think is really important is the why, because that is perhaps exactly what you're thinking. Why would you put yourself through this? Why are you doing this if it's so scary, if you're so many obstacles, if it takes so much time? And that is really important. We cannot tell you what your why is. You need to find it for yourself, and that's what's gonna keep you motivated. But one last journey that I really want to highlight here is sometimes it doesn't have to end up at CTA at all. Sometimes you create kind of this bigger thing altogether, and that's exactly what Gemma did. She really created her own journey. She founded Ladies Be Architect, she became MVP, Golden Hoodie, and all-around powerhouse and role model for people out there. And she also shared, you know, what it was, how it was to fill a CTA, which is incredibly brave because it's not easy to share your failures, but it's so valuable for people to learn from that. You learn the most by seeing how other people deal with adverse situations, with challenges, with failure. So she started her own consultancy, the Architect Club, which, as a punny person, I love. So I wish we could spend more time, but we lost quite a bit with the technical difficulties to really highlight the importance. But just if one key takeaway that we can give from this is just really keep thinking about the why, because the why will help you determine, is this still something that fits for me? Maybe I've grown into a different direction. I found that I'm not all that interested in, I don't know, identity or integration. I really want to do solution, or I really want to do data, and that's fine. We need you guys, right? We need people to do these things and to really build it all together, or maybe you just want to start something new altogether, which is exactly what you did. So that's for the past journeys.
Okay, we'll talk about my journey so far. You can see it's been much longer with a lot more pit stops, roadblocks, you know, you can look at them however you want. So I've been an accidental admin since 2003, and prior to that, every job I had, I ended up being the administrator of the CRM. So I've got 30 plus years of experience in CRMs. I became a full-time Salesforce professional in 2008. Prior to that, I just, you know, I had another job, and then I was also the admin. Got my admin certification when they first launched them in 2011, and went on to get my application architect in 2018. And in June of 23, I graduated with JoAnn and from Melissa's Scale Up Architecture Group, and Justina, which was a phenomenal experience. And then hopefully I'm scheduled to take the last integration architect exam in December. And just to go public with failures, this will be retry number 5. So it's my Waterloo. So my goal is to pass that and potentially sit for the evaluation board in March, and hopefully sometime before the end of 2024 become a CTA. So we wanted to talk about what you need to take on your journey. And so these are the things that for me have really resonated. The first one is, number one, be really intimate with your whys. And Nadina talked about that in her article, but it's also, I've learned that I really have to remind myself. And my whys have shifted in the process. Also essential, you need a work-life balance and you need employer support. I've been asked multiple times why just now when you look at the length of my journey, why I'm just now really starting to focus on CTA. It really comes down to moving to Europe. As an American and part of that hustle culture, I worked 60, 70 hours a week and I didn't have time to do anything else. Additionally, my employers were like, yeah, that'd be great if you were a CTA. We'd love to put that on our masthead. Hope you have time because you've got 5 projects. So I really, I found in Europe I have much more leeway and much more employer support, and that is really key. Also very highly recommended, make sure you make time to study. Again, being an American and being part of that hustle culture, I feel like I should be working all the time, and I feel guilty when I take time out to study, so I've really had to work on that. But I've also learned I cannot study all the time. I could do it when I was younger. I'm past that now. I need time to knit. Let's just be real. And drink coffee. So.
Yeah, so for the future journeys, you see a lot of things here that we've already covered quite a bit, but it's because they're really, really important. So one of them, for example, is, wait. Sorry. So one of them really is the why. And I think you've heard it already a bit. It takes a lot of time and effort. And having that why, which can change, which is fine. My why changed as well. But it's really important to keep you going because why are you spending all this time? Why? And you need to also sometimes justify it. And as a second part, the who, the direct impact and the indirect impact. So direct impact, for example, well, you will have to sometimes make choices about social commitments and social engagements that you might not want to or could attend. Or maybe you need to spend a bit more time studying and not always have time for a date night. These are things that can happen. That's a very clear direct impact. Indirect, you might be a bit irritable, still stuck in your head, still thinking about how should I solve that? Maybe I should have said this. Oh, they asked me that during Q&A. Why didn't I just say that? These are things, the murmuring that will happen, so it will have a bit of an impact on you because it's a very big thing that you're doing. So keep that in mind as well. Make sure that your people around you know what you're going for and what could happen in that sense, and still try to make time. I'm not saying, just abandon them, but it's better that they come in there also with their eyes open, that they know what to expect. And then the how. We mentioned commitment. I think they're making time, but also making some planning for yourself. And I'm saying this because I love planning, I love documentation, I love everything structure. But for me, that's how it worked, right? That's what helped. If I knew, okay, on Saturday mornings, my husband's sleeping long anyway, so I can definitely study until like 12 before he really notices. So, so those might be the things that, help you make sure that for the rest of the day, I'm free to spend my time on whatever I want because I've already done my quota for the day. Whatever works for you, right? And the methodology, find a way that works for you to study because you'll need to consume so much information and you will doubt yourself. I don't know how many times I've looked at the licenses documentation about which objects do you have access to with this or that. I don't know how many times I've looked up sharing rules or identity or whatever, just because they will ask you during Q&A, you'll be like, I think I'm right, but maybe I'm wrong. So find a way that you don't always need to Google the same thing. Maybe you have it in your notes already. You have it in a way that is clear. Maybe you have cheat sheets. That's what worked for me. So really think about that and find the support. Find those groups because it's a lot of things to do. at your own time, and you cannot lone wolf this. You might be able to lone wolf all the way until the final step in the pyramid, but the last one, you need that feedback. You need those soft skills, and you can only really grow and nurture them by talking, by presenting, by collaborating with people. So the support is really, really important. And these are just, we have 2 slides, so this is a healthy amount of baggage for you to take along the journey. So we have some really good things like Apex Hours, of course the Architect of HANA Slack, Cloud Sundial, which is so good at demystifying all the things about identity flows, many, many other study groups, scenarios, various resources with Ladies Be Architect, interesting groups like SIMA, for example, and of course the Salesforce Architects, which they have tons of interesting stuff as well. And Scale Up. We should have put a link, but I forgot. I'm sorry. ScaleUpArgs.org. Mark it, write it down. Yeah, so this QR code is just to our deck where you'll find everything, and we'll add the link for Scale Up Arcs as well, which is a great initiative. You already heard a bit about it from JoAnn. It's really to help people move on to this architect mindset, walking through these steps. It's not really tailored to the very, very end of the CTA journey. There's whole kinds of other things. It's really to help that first introduction. And even more, but again, you have the QR code, we'll get you there. But I really found these quite important because, for example, the 5 types of Salesforce architects, again, point you towards maybe it isn't the CTA for me, maybe it's something else. All right, I'm still seeing phones, so I'll wait a bit. Everyone got it? All right. And then, do you want to? Sure.
So this really, there's lots of emotions around this. I had the opportunity to meet Gemma when she was here last year. It was a really seminal moment for me as an architect and on my journey to becoming an architect. I've followed her for years since she started Ladies Be Architects. That is one of the key resources that made me feel like I could do it. And I'm going to talk about myself for just a moment in regards to this. Talking about knowing your whys. One of my whys initially was just proving to someone who told me I wasn't very smart that I was smart enough. That why has morphed. My daughter and I have a daughter and 2 granddaughters. And when I started pursuing this path, my daughter said, you know, this is really, I'm so proud of you, and you're inspiring me to do different things in my life. And so having that feedback is also, you know, really pushing me forward. And I feel like Gemma was someone who embodied that, you know, allowing those whys to change, number one, but also allowing yourself space to grow into those. And so I just really want to recognize her and the impact she had on my life, and I know that she had on everyone else's.
And I can only echo that. Gemma has played an important role in my journey as well. She was one of the first people or women that I really saw doing this, and role models are really key. And boy, do we have a good one with Gemma. So we put in 2 QR codes, one to the book that she wrote, because if you haven't heard about everything that she's accomplished in the unfortunate short time that she had, please check it out and you'll be amazed because it's truly awe-inspiring. And the second link is about Ladies Be Architect because this is really the thing that she created. It's the first step in such a wave of architecture all around the community that she created, that she put her shoulders behind. So we just wanted to recognize, not to put a damper on the mood, of course, but just to maybe have you walk away with some inspiration. And one of the things that Gemma really told me or really instilled on me is that you can have such an impact. So really just try to find those other people who are not finding what they need and inspire them, because that's what she has done. She created a new wave of role models, and they in turn will create a new wave of role models, and I think we can all be that. Thank you.